What inspired you to make this film and focus on this topic specifically?
Our film's gone through a bit of a journey, actually. We started working on this as a student loan debt piece, just as a all student loan debt, and exploring what it was, how people were getting it, why college cost as much as it did. And we kind of, like, I think in a lot of investigative pieces, we went in broad and current events kind of took over, and it was a perfect storm. So we had actually started we did about 15 interviews into the production when a Corinthian colleges collapsed, which is a major for-profit college company. The equivalent collapse would be something like Lehman Brothers and the subprime mortgage crisis. And when that happened, I was like, okay, what's the story here? And I basically spent months reading, taking in as much as I could, any bit of research on the for-profit college industry. And it was very evident early on that this was the heart of the film. This is where we had to go. What's crazy to me, it was just a bunch of independent filmmakers that had to do this, because it wasn't a major studio or it wasn't a major news source, going on the story, when I thought that this is an outreach that deserves national headlines every single day, because we're talking millions of people who are having their lives ruined. But we did it. We kept our head down, and it's really like this film is as much about, trying to get states to reinvest in our public colleges as it is about giving justice to students who were defrauded, were, poached by these schools and taken through the ringer.
And so, what made you want to come on as a producer for this film?
Well, the first thing was Alex made me want to come aboard. I mean, this is an extraordinary, talented filmmaker, and I knew what he would do and was doing would be high quality. But also, as a journalist, I always want to be part of something that's bigger than myself. And this matters. This counts. The film Failed State deals with a situation in which it exposes how deeply and how seriously the system, the governmental system, is rigged. I think a lot of people have a kind of notion, it's rigged, but they don't know how it's rigged, why it's rigged, and who specifically benefits. Kind of deep digging investigative reporting that they did, melded into good storytelling, puts it up there on the big screen where people can understand it. But let's see clearly, what this situation that Failed State deals with is about. Is it preys on people, the most vulnerable people in the society, who want part of the American dream. But the dream turns out to be a scam when it comes to certainly many of these nonprofit schools. And the nexus where very big money meets political power to, excuse my reporter's French, screw the public and screw vulnerable people. It's exposed in this film, and I'm pleased to be associated with it, even in a peripheral way.
And so before you presented the film, you said that it's been a work in progress for about 5 years, and then you had to kind of change your tune a little bit with your topic. And you briefly mentioned in the film about Trump University's lawsuit settlement and Betsy DeVos. So how do you think that the current administration and their policies kind of will affect the way that people view the film?
In what sense? Like in terms of more for the film itself, we have a Department of Education that is very friendly to the for-profit sector today. We're seeing a level of precision of unfurling these Obama-era regulations that's faster than something that we saw in the George W. Bush administration, and that was really bad. And what the film exposes is the harm that was dealt on students was because of those undoing of those regulations. So I'm very disturbed and kind of scared about what's going to happen in the coming years, because there's a whole new set of another generation of students who are about to enter college, Generation Z, who generally have a very positive outlook of for-profit colleges, or they don't know much about them. And to the for-profit industry, this is new leads, this is new students to take them through the ringer. And so I think my hope with the film is that it gets to as wide of an audience as possible, where we can at the very least just stop the bleeding, because we're not going to have a Department of Education that's going to do that. It's just, this is the reality of it. in my work, I try to keep as an unbiased view, and we attack both Republicans and Democrats in this film pretty hard. But currently, there's just not an administration that's going to do this. They're not going to police the for-profit industry. So, like I said, just changing public opinion to the point where we could stop the bleeding, and then maybe in the next administration, we can do something about the students who've already been defrauded.
Sorry, just like blanked. So basically, there's like a big sector of the population now that is trying to become more informed, I think, and keep up with the news and government and that sort of thing. And you do kind of push people at the end of the film a little bit to kind of learn more, do more. So what do you hope they take from it, and what do you hope their actions are?
In our panel discussion, Steve Bird, who's featured in the film, he had made a good point about how in the Bush administration in the early 2000s, there was no one following this issue. It was maybe 60 Minutes had done one piece in 2005, but for the whole decade, that was it. There was no one else. It was maybe localized reporting, but there was nothing national. And at least now, differently, the different scenario is that we have a lot more. New York Times is doing posts now. Washington Post is doing it. So I think, like, I guess, okay, to get back to your question itself, can you repeat that?
Just what do you hope that people take from the film? And
Okay, I don't. So what I hope to get is that they start paying attention to what the Department of Education is doing, because this has impacts on everyone's lives. It hits to the very closest corners of a family, and I just want people to have the same level response that maybe that we have with net neutrality in the FCC. I want people to write out thousands of comments and submit it to the Department of Education to at least put up a fight, because right now we don't have that fight. There's not much that's happening. The Department of Education is just undoing these regulations without a fire under their butts, and I want to make sure that there is that fire. So at the very least, we said we tried.
Well, thank you both for your time.
Thank you.